Audacity.
You start Audacity.
Are you caught up with Star Trek at all, or no?
With Discovery, yeah, I'm
Mm,
caught up.
Okay. I
All
am not.
right, this is Chris Mike Sync.
This is Torin Mike Sink.
Okay, what were you gonna say?
I'm not caught up with Discovery.
Oh, you're not.
No, I
Okay.
don't. But I don't care about spoilers, so I read the spoiler, and that sounds really
Oh.
dumb. So,
Which one?
bringing back Doctor Boyfriend.
Yeah, we could talk about that. All right.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I haven't seen it.
No,
So,
let's talk about it because we need shit to talk about.
all right.
I don't know what the fuck is up with Brian, but whatever.
he doesn't want to join, so that's fine.
Oh, have you talked to him?
I didn't talk to him, but I mean, if
Okay.
he's, he looks
Yeah.
at his phone all the time. If he's not paying attention, then he's busy. So,
Yeah.
all right.
Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of the TPK podcast. I'm your host Christopher James, and with me today is Torin.
No special, whatever the fuck we want to talk about edition.
No special title today.
No titles. Untitled.
Yeah. Untitled.
There you go.
Yes, Untitled TPK project in development.
Or it could be like that really long title that Fiona Apple had on that one album. I don't know if you remember that.
I have no memory of that.
Fiona Apple had like a paragraph as like a title once for one of her albums.
That's actually kind of funny.
Back in it was like a poem essentially.
Yeah.
That was the title of her thing. So they just the fans just call it title.
Yeah. No, I dig it. I dig it.
Yeah.
But as you can tell, we are doing a freeform episode today. We're going to talk a little bit about this, a little bit about that. But first, it's time for What Are We Drinking? And Torin, what alcohol are you imbibing today?
I actually have a Strong Bow hard apple cider here.
Wow.
I know. Actual liquor, even though it
alcohol.
It barely counts as alcohol, but I mean
No, it's fine. It counts. I am rocking Everclear.
Of course.
As one does
At 10:30
at 10:30 on a Sunday morning. Yeah.
Right.
No, I'm actually not, but through the power of radio, I could lie and say I'm drinking whatever I want. So I am drinking a 40-year-old bottle of Macallan because I can afford that with all of my podcast money coming in.
What are you actually drinking?
I'm drinking nothing.
You're the one that likes the "What are you drinking" segment. You're not
I
even
love
drinking.
the "What am I drinking," but I didn't know we were recording until 10 minutes ago. I literally ran into my closet/studio, or my Cludio, as you know, listeners will know it's called, and set up my shit. I am pantsless, but I am wearing socks, and I am wearing a moderately clean shirt. For your listening benefit, I'm sure you can hear the cleanness, listeners.
Yeah, we can hear the cleanliness in there.
So, speaking of rushing, we gotta end this one pretty quick because I'm gonna go take my baby boy to see the Lego Movie 2.
Oh!
Yeah. Have you seen any of the Lego movies?
I've seen Lego Batman.
It is so good,
It's
right?
really good.
Okay, so I was at Comic-Con, what was it, 2 years ago? Was it 07? Or not 07, 2017, I think?
Probably.
I was at Comic-Con 2017 in Hall H when they announced at the Warner Brothers panel the Lego Batman movie. And I was like, I could not roll my eyes hard enough. Like, they literally went backwards into my socket. I was like, oh my god, this sounds so fucking dumb. Why are you assholes diluting Batman more than it already has? Like, it's been how many years since the Nolan trilogy? I just want good Batman again on my films, okay? And then my son, I was scrolling through, I think it was HBO, and my son saw Lego Batman. He's like, Daddy, I want that one, because he loves Batman. He loves Batman the Animated Series.
Of course, he has good taste.
Yeah, exactly. And
Right.
and so I tend only to let him watch the stuff. But he was like, I was tired, and he was really insistent. And, you know, those two things come together. Like, all right, fuck it, whatever. We'll sit through this. I was so surprised at how good it was. Like, it is...
Well, have you ever played any of the Lego Batman games?
I have not.
Okay,
so
they're
but it's not made by the same studio.
It's not made by the same studio, but the same ideas.
It's the same, yeah.
Yeah, it's very tongue-in-cheek. It's very self-aware. Like, the humor is very good in those games. And then, of course, for the Lego Batman movie, they have Who are the two guys? Phil Lord and
Will
Christopher
Arm.
Miller.
Oh yeah. Well, no, I don't think they did. Did they do the Lego Batman movie?
I think they actually did do the Lego Batman
Oh, real?
movie.
They did the Lego movie, and they did the Lego movie too.
Right.
So I was so impressed with it's so I knew it was going to be like this. It's not a pure Batman story, you know. It's the Marvel take on Batman, so it's very satirical, which
Yeah, it's
I
fun.
don't know. I normally wouldn't like that. Like I did not like. Have you seen the Adam West animated Batmans that they came up with?
No.
So Adam West did two animated movies based on. It's basically a continuation of the 1960s Adam West Batman TV show.
Mhm. Oh, it must be based on the comic series Batman 66,
Yes,
right?
it is. It is.
Okay,
It's based
okay.
on Batman 66.
Mhm.
And Adam West returned for two of them right before he died. I have been forced to watch them by my son. They're not good.
Really?
They're not good. It's that kind of I guess it's meant to be satire, but that style of a satirical take on Batman, I'm just not a fan of.
Hmm.
Other people generally like it, like it's gotten good reviews. I just, my attachment to Batman might be too strong for me to view it objectively, and I'm willing to admit that. I may not be capable of viewing, that particular take on Batman objectively because of my attachment to the character, but I just generally didn't like it. I did not think I was going to like Lego Batman because it's a similar idea. It's a satirical take on Batman, but it is so unbelievably good.
Yeah, it's really, really funny. And I stand corrected. It wasn't Phil Lord and Christopher Miller that wrote it. They actually just produced it.
Yeah.
It was Chris McKay who did it, who does Robot Chicken, which makes sense. So,
Yeah. I mean, it's
yeah,
so
I mean, it seemed like a Robot Chicken esque type thing.
it is.
And
It is, and
I still enjoy Robot Chicken. I don't know if anybody else
I
does.
like Robot Chicken, but it's the problem with sketch comedy shows is that you sit through 8 bad sketches to get one good sketch an episode,
Mhm.
and so, but it's that movie is golden. Lego Batman movie is really really good. It's a fun take on the superhero genre. It's a fun, much like Venture Brothers, which you should watch. Torin,
Yeah, yes.
you asshole. So much like Venture Brothers, much like there's a few other things out there that do a good satirical take on the superhero genre, and they just do satirical takes on movies in general, which I think is fun. And it does meta in a way that's not fucking over the top, which a lot of these other movies do. It's kind of like a kid's Deadpool, to be perfectly honest.
Okay.
They don't do a lot of fourth wall breaking. But anyway, so that my general unabated love of the Lego Batman movie caused me to rent and then later purchase. And you know me,
Wow.
I don't purchase movies.
Right.
I wait for them to come out on Netflix, right?
Hmm.
I rented and then purchased the Lego movie, and I went ahead and bought the Lego Batman movie because it got off of HBO.
Wow.
The Lego movie is pretty darn good. It's not as good as Lego Batman, but keep in mind, Lego movie came first.
Right.
So I
Let
think
them.
they probably built on their experience with the Lego movie and maybe learned from some of their mistakes or whatever. And then I've already seen Lego Movie 2, and I'm gonna take Emerson to see it again because my wife is sick, which is why I'm not playing D&D today with Brian at 2:00 because my wife is sick, so I have to watch Emerson. So
Mhm.
we're gonna go see Lego Movie 2. It is like Lego Movie 2 is better than the Lego Batman movie, which I didn't think was possible because the Lego Batman movie is a really, really good film. The Lego Movie 2 is really good. Like the Lego Movie 1 is pretty good. Lego Batman movie is fantastic. Lego Movie 2 is even better than that. It is so unbelievably good.
Oh, you saw that already.
I've seen that, and I'm going to see it again, which is why I have to leave. I have to be done with this at like 11:20.
Okay. All right.
But yeah, it's. Have you seen any of the other Lego movies?
No, I've only seen Lego Batman movie.
So I've heard mixed reviews of the Lego Ninjago movie, and I'm not actually interested in Ninjago, so I'm not gonna watch it. But yeah, the first Lego movie is really good. It also has Batman in it, as does the second Lego movie. The first Lego movie it's even more meta. It's more like meta commentary on movies and superhero genres and other genres as well. The first Lego movie is legitimately a good movie. I recommend it to adults, not just adults with kids, but I legit recommend it to adults. It's
Yeah,
a fun
yeah, it
movie.
seems like one of those because Lego Batman movie has stuff in there that only kids, I'm sorry, that only adults will understand. But it seems like one of those movies or one of those franchises that's both for kids and adults, but has humor for
Yeah,
both.
which I think like if we talk about that movement in kids movies, I think that did that start with Shrek?
No, I mean it's an older thing. Like, I mean, if you want to go way back, Looney Tunes was for both adults and kids,
Yeah, yes.
more or less. But I guess this kind of newer thing. I want to say Pixar kind of started it.
I see. I disagree with that. I don't. I mean, I think that Pixar does the thing. Pixar does the it's good for adults and for kids thing in that they just write legitimately good stories. But I don't think they put a lot of stuff in there that only adults are going to get.
Well, it's the modern, I guess, the reference humor. Like for example, what's that one with Steve Carell, Despicable Me?
Oh, that's not Pixar.
No,
That's
no, it's not Pixar, but I'm saying it's that type of
yeah.
comedy. Have you seen any of
So
those?
that's DreamWorks. I've seen the first Despicable Me.
I
Oh,
like
I've
them.
I've seen the second one too. Actually, I
I,
haven't
I,
seen the
I,
third.
I like them. I think they're fine. They're fine.
They're all right. I don't know. I have such a high standard for kids movies because now that I have a 3-year-old, I watch a shit ton of them, and the vast majority of them are crap.
Well, see, I was just thinking about this because there's a video game called Kingdom Hearts. I'm not sure if you've heard of that.
I've heard of it, but I've never played it.
Okay, so real quick, basic 1 minute, 30-second thing Kingdom Hearts is a mix of Final Fantasy and Disney. And it's an RPG on the PlayStation systems. Kingdom Hearts 3 just came out, and they have a bunch of different worlds in there that you can visit, like Tangled and Frozen and Big Hero 6 and those kind of movies. But what made me think about just animation in general and the quality of it now is I remember in the early 2000s, not counting Shrek, I'm talking about like bad Disney, like when there
Yeah.
was like Home on the Range and Treasure Planet and all those
Or
kind of.
fucking Hercules, which I've been forced to watch.
I like Hercules.
No, I
It was the
can't.
beginning of that was definitely the beginning of the end of their
Of
golden
the
era, but
downturn,
the
yeah.
downturn. But I like Hercules. But you did have that. You had that era of like kids cartoons that were. It was just bad, and then something turned it around, and it wasn't Disney. I think it was Pixar more or less that turned it around, and then
Well,
you had.
I think it was Pixar because it was before Disney bought Pixar.
Okay,
Yeah.
I always thought they were a subsidiary of Disney even back then.
I looked this up recently, and don't quote me of this, but they were separate, but Disney had owned a bunch of their stock as part of their fundraising, but Disney didn't have a lot of control. And then like, I think by the time they did like Cars or maybe something after that, Disney went and just bought them outright, and now it's Disney Pixar.
Okay.
But Pixar has always done legitimately good stuff. Like,
Right.
I think what is the first legitimately bad movie that they did? It was Cars 2, right? And that's
Probably, and
the
and I
only
mean,
bad one,
well, you
right?
put bad in quotes because even Cars 2 is fine. It's not, it's
I
not,
have issues with Cars 2, but I also had issues with Cars 1. But yeah, I think
well,
bad Pixar is like everybody else is mediocre.
I would
You know
say
what I mean?
Planes is worse than Cars.
Planes is not Pixar. That's a misconception. Planes is
Oh,
by Disney's
Oh.
own animation group,
Oh, okay.
which is the same animation group that did Tangled and did Frozen. So it's not like they can't do good, but I think this was the first one. I looked this up. I went down a Wikipedia rabbit hole. Planes is a spin-off. It's in the same universe as Cars, but it's not written by any of the Pixar team. It was originally going to be a direct-to-video movie that the Disney animation team was going to do to test out their whatever.
Mhm.
And some executive said, we're going to make this a feature. And they were like, all right.
Really quick, something no one cares about, an argument I've had people with Cars. You realize Cars is just a remake of Doc Hollywood, right?
So I've not seen Doc Hollywood, but
You've seen Doc Hollywood because you've seen Cars. It's the same plot.
oh, okay.
It's a big city person comes to a small town and gets stuck there and
Oh yeah, yeah.
improves it. Yeah, it's
But
the
that's
exact
kind
same
of a standard storyline trope. I mean,
It's-
there's a
it's-
lot of Pixar
it's
movies
pretty
that
it's
are
pretty close. It's not even
yeah.
standard trope. They even follow the same beats where he has like an older mentor and he falls in love with a local woman. It's really it's Doc Hollywood. I mean, if you're going to say that Avatar is Dances with Wolves,
well, because
you're going to say Cars is Doc.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I haven't seen Doc Hollywood. I don't mind. Here's the thing. I don't mind. You can get ready to scream. I do not mind paint by numbers storytelling. I don't mind it, so long as it's done well. Here's the thing. We can talk about movies that the first Avengers, paint by numbers storytelling. It hits all of the beats, all of the team comes together, stuff like that. I'm trying to think. The first Iron Man is also paint by numbers storytelling. A lot of the Pixar movies that we're talking about, the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Have you finally seen that?
I have not seen it yet.
I thought you were going to take your nephew to see that.
But yeah, we didn't go.
Why do you hate your nephew so much? What did he do to you?
I should have taken him to see it.
You should have taken him.
Yeah.
If you love your nephew, TPK listeners,
hang on.
The children in your life, take them to see Into the Spider-Verse.
I did buy him the entire series of Gravity Falls.
So I haven't actually seen Gravity Falls, but I have heard good things.
It's really good.
I'll have to see now that I have a kid that's into that. I can
now you have an excuse to actually
watching it.
Right, not just like be a creepy adult watching these kids cartoons.
Exactly.
You can actually watch it and have a real excuse.
So, but that's the thing. I think it's a good trend that cartoon makers and movie makers, and I mean, there have always been standouts. I mean, we're talking about Batman the Animated Series was just a legitimately great television show. It holds up. The animation is actually still pretty darn good for being 20 plus years old. I've watched every episode with my son multiple times. That's another show that I went out and bought for $30. I bought the entire series because it's great. Even the X-Men animated TV show, I think, was a legitimately good show until they had budget issues, and like the last 2 seasons of that show were bad. I'm trying to think of what else from our childhood that were
Spider-Man
good. Like
Spider-Man show is really good.
Yeah, the Spider-Man show was pretty good. They played that show a little fast and loose.
I really like. People don't really talk about it anymore, but I like Batman Beyond a lot.
Batman Beyond was really, really good, and then it got bad. Like the first 2 seasons were really good, and then it started going downhill. I think the 3rd season, which was its last, if I'm remembering correctly.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it only lasted three seasons.
I think there were also some budget or some sort of concerns. I can't remember.
Sure.
But yeah, that's the thing though with a lot of these shows, like the X-Men show. Perfect example. I rewatched a little while ago every episode in that series. That show, I mean, everybody talks about Batman the Animated Series for being groundbreaking, and it was, but so was the X-Men animated show. Keep in mind, this was, and I think this was the first and probably only serialized kids show. It was, I'm 99% sure it was the first. That first season was a serialized show. It was designed to be watched in order. It had a season-long storyline for that first season, and it was amazing.
I want to say that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles they had a more or less overarching plot to their
90s
episodes. Yeah, the one in the early 90s.
That's one that I haven't rewatched.
It's don't. A lot of that stuff doesn't really. A lot of the early '90s and the '80s stuff doesn't really hold up.
Yeah, a lot of it doesn't hold up.
No,
like,
but
I recently watched an episode of Chip and Dale's Rescue Rangers.
Yeah, it does. I mean, look, I get it. Yeah. When I was a kid, and it was dumb. I like. You know what holds up though? I like Tailspin still. I think Tailspin.
You know, I've seen a few episodes of Tailspin, and that holds up too.
Yeah,
but because they weren't afraid to put adult themes in there.
Well, because Tailspin was just Indiana Jones, only with Baloo.
Yes, it was Indiana Jones meets the Jungle Book characters.
Right,
that's what it was, and it was a fun. It was a fun show. Well, I was just talking about something. I was just talking about. Do you remember Alf?
Yes, I remember.
So I loved that show as a kid.
Wow.
It is so fucking awful.
Oh, it's terrible.
It's terrible. It is so bad. And I remember it being good. That's the problem with
it was never
nostalgia
good.
Kick. Well, okay. This is the problem with the nostalgia kick that we're getting, because we've got your Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, we've got your Power Rangers, you've got your Transformers. Apparently the Bumblebee movie is pretty good. But I haven't seen that one. But I've seen all the others, and the only one in those series I haven't seen Bumblebee, but the only one that's watchable is the first one. The first one is watchable.
I think the first one's fine.
It's another example of paint by numbers storytelling, and it's dumb Michael Bay version. But
it's fine.
Damn it, it works.
Yeah, it does work. It's fine. And
the second one's bad. The third one's bad.
Well, after that, the
fourth one's
bad.
Really bad.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, this 90s nostalgia stuff, it doesn't hold up.
Well, even look, even the 80s nostalgia stuff doesn't really hold up.
Well, yeah, I mean, Transformers is more 80s than 90s. It was 87.
Right, sure, but a lot of it doesn't hold up.
Yeah, it's
just based on your nostalgia for it,
exactly.
and you think it's good because of that, and it's not. A lot of things you don't really want to revisit.
Yeah, you don't want to revisit.
No, like just let it exist in your memory as what it was, and that's fine.
Yeah. I wish I could go back in time with my modern brain and see if this stuff is as good. But I don't want to.
No, you don't want to do that.
Thing. But yeah, I mean, X-Men is good. Batman the Animated Series is good. I'm not a fan of when they switched to the WB, that 4th season. I'm just not a fan of. And I know a lot of people liked that season, but honestly, it seems to me to be dumbed down, that 4th season. The animation style I also don't like, but I'm willing to give it a pass because they had to do that for budgetary concerns.
In general, or was the animation worse when it went to WB?
It was... What they did is they simplified a lot of the designs. They simplified that sort of Art Deco, the Neo 50s design. They simplified it because they wanted to have crossovers with the Superman TV show. So they also simplified the character designs in order to make it look more like the Superman TV show. And that in and of itself, yeah, it's a little bit off-putting, but I'm willing to go past that. But having seen all of the episodes of the 4th season, it's... I'm just not a fan. I feel like they dumbed down a lot of the plot lines. And when you listen to Bruce Timm and Paul Dini and all of the other producers of that series talk about, they loved going over to the WB because when they were at Fox Kids would constantly give them notes on storylines that they had to dumb down, or not dumb down, but they had to change because it was too violent or too adult or whatever. But watching these WB episodes, I feel like they maybe needed that oversight because some of these, I mean, there's an episode where, just to name you an example, there's an episode that's dark and it's on paper, it sounds like it's going to be a fun episode. I don't know if you remember this episode, but it's got Robin. It's the Tim Drake Robin, which again, I have issues with. Because you've got a 12-year-old fighting crime where adults
you don't like Robin.
Bullets at him. I don't like Robin. I like Dick Grayson as an adult, but I
Robin isn't necessarily evil because he lends Batman humanity.
I'm okay with that if they do it in a different way, but here's the thing. Robin turns, any way you take it, Robin turns Batman into a horrible parent.
Well,
and a legitimately bad human being.
So the comics address all that because the 4th Robin, actually the 2nd and 4th Robins were both killed.
Yes.
And that becomes a problem for Batman.
It does. And so I know why the comics producers put Robin in there. They put it on there for this wish fulfillment, hero fantasy thing for the kids to read it. And oh gosh, I understand their desire to do that because you got to get readership in, and I'm alone. Nobody else hates Robin the way I do.
I don't hate Robin, but I understand the problem that Robin presents.
I've never enjoyed Robin, even as a kid. I never really liked Robin.
Well, because when you're a kid, you don't really. And this is a thing that sometimes I think that people who make medium for children don't understand. Like, the kid doesn't want to be the kid character in any of these things. The kid wants to be the cool adult. Like, it's the problem that George Lucas has with his prequel series, or at least Phantom Menace, where it's like, okay, well, I'm going to put Anakin Skywalker in here as a 6-year-old kid to appeal to the kids. And it's like, no, the kid doesn't want to be Anakin Skywalker. The kid wants to be Obi-Wan Kenobi, or the kid wants to be Han Solo, or the kid wants to be Luke Skywalker. The kid doesn't want to be the actual child character in the show. I can't imagine. I don't remember being, when I was a kid, ever wanting to be the child character in any of the shows that I watched. I wanted to be the cool adult doing the cool shit. So I don't really understand their logic in that. Um, what do you think? I mean, when you were a kid, did you ever want to be like Kit Cloud Kicker and Tailspin?
I mean, when I was a really young kid, I did. But,
Sure, but when you were like 8 or 9,
probably when I was 8 or 9. But I think by around 10, I didn't want to be Robin. I wanted to be Batman.
Right, of course. You know? Yeah.
So it's, I don't know. It's.
Did you ever watch any of the other Batman animated series that came out? Like The Batman was a thing in the early
clips,
2000s.
But I never watched it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna watch a couple of clips. I have a very low tolerance for crap.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I can't get into Orville. I'll watch a couple of episodes at the most, and if it doesn't hook me, then I'm done.
Orville's not bad. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's. I mean, look, it's just Star Trek: The Next Generation. That's all it is. If you could deal with Star Trek: The Next Generation, which I think you've been on kind of a Star Trek assance lately, going through like all the old shows. But if you can deal with Star Trek: The Next Generation, you can deal with the Orville. It's the same exact show, only with maybe a little bit more modern sensibilities thrown in.
Yeah, I just, here's the thing. I don't want to see a modern take on The Next Generation. Like, The Next Generation is good for its time, which is the late 80s, early 90s, right? I don't think that it's not something that I'm interested in seeing today because television has evolved, you know, and it's thanks in part to shows like Battlestar Galactica, and shows like Game of Thrones, Breaking Bad, these quality TV shows. That's why I'm really so disappointed in Star Trek Discovery.
No, you and me both, buddy.
They've got the budget. They've got the acting talent. Okay, I wish they would have better scripts. I mean, I love Sonequa Martin Green. I love Jason Isaacs. I was actually thinking that Jason Isaacs was gonna. So spoilers for this last week's episode that came out on February 15th. By the way,
right. So you haven't seen it.
They go into the mycelial network and they find Dr. Boyfriend. I thought that Jason Isaacs was going to come back. I thought Jason Isaacs was going to be the... No, I think it would still be as dumb. If Jason
it's going to be dumb.
Showed up,
but if you're
going to make complaining
if you're going to make it dumb so we can all enjoy it.
So
okay.
I've been thinking about Star Trek Discovery. We're switching gears completely.
Yeah.
I've been thinking about Star Trek Discovery as I'm watching the show because here's the thing. I give it shit because I expect better of it, but it's still a decent show.
It's fine. But you're right. Yeah. It's exactly fine. But I don't want a Star Trek in a post Breaking Bad, Game of Thrones world on a premium channel to just be fine. I want it to be like those other shows that I enjoy.
Here's the thing. I'm wondering what inherent to the plot, with the exception of involving Spock, what that is inherent to the plot what part of the plot would have had to have been changed if they made it take place after DS9? 50 years after DS9. You could still have the Klingon Empire break down and decide to go to war with the Federation again because they want to get back to their warrior roots and all that stuff.
Well, they hint at that all through Next Generation and DS9. That's all boiling under the surface. Like the Federation has this kind of, it's not even like it's a truce, I guess, almost.
Yeah,
with the Klingons.
It's the Kinnemer Accords.
Right. It's not even
basically a ceasefire.
It's a ceasefire, but that doesn't mean that there still aren't hostilities between the two factions.
Yeah. I mean, I just
no. You're absolutely right. There's no reason. Then that's the problem you have with prequels.
Well, because I feel like the story is getting shoehorned by the fact that they want to do things that the canon doesn't allow. Now, here's the thing. And this does not take place in the Prime universe, or let's call it the canon universe. Whatever CBS says, it doesn't. That's the only way you can make sense of it. And I've been digging into some of the rights issues. Honestly, for legality purposes, I'm not entirely sure if they can make another TV show in the original canon universe.
Oh, is there a whole problem there with Paramount and everybody?
So here's the thing. We don't exactly know the specifics of the deal, but... There's we talked about this in the Discovery episode as well, so it's complicated as all get out. But yeah,
Sorry.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm getting distracted.
I am too.
Brian
we both.
trolling us.
Is he listening to us?
No, he can't because
Oh, okay.
he doesn't have the link. He's.
All right. Make sure you
It's
cut off.
just really good timing on his part
Wow,
that he's
that's-
trolling us about Discovery as we're talking about Discovery.
Yeah. Sorry.
And I think I'm going to keep this in the podcast so Brian can listen to this.
Anyway, yeah, so no, my problem with, you're right. You're absolutely right. It doesn't need to be a prequel. It should have been set. They should have just done what they would with Next Gen. Just set it another 100 years in the future. And then you can start over again. You don't have to have anything. You don't have to have anything that's related to the canon. You're not married to that because you're so far in the future. You can just do whatever you want. And I think there's writers are creative people. I'm sure, like when Brian Fuller or whoever brought it over to CBS, I'm sure they were like, look, we probably don't want to make this related to Next Gen or DS9 or Voyager or any of the old properties. Want to do their own thing.
Well, I think
and then some suit was probably like, no, we have to tie it in because 3% of the viewers will want that. I mean, look, I'm sure it's all.
I think it's exactly a studio decision because they wanted to tie it into the movies.
Right. You have to. Well, they're not even doing that though. Like if they were to tie it into the J.J. Abrams movies, which would have been smarter because.
But legally they can't.
Okay, so they can't do
Paramount.
that. Okay, that's fine. They can't do that. So they want to tie it into the original series because they want people to understand, yes, this is really Star Trek, especially in wake of the J.J. Abrams movies that a lot of Star Trek fans feel is not real Star Trek.
Because let's be honest, they're good films. The second one I have issues with, but it's still a good film.
It's an okay film.
But
the first one I like.
They're not Star Trek.
And I like the third one a lot.
It's Star Wars with a Star Trek veneer.
It's Star Trek the way you have to make Star Trek for an audience nowadays. You can't.
Well, yeah, especially for and even the Next Generation films were like this, and the TOS films were a little bit like this. Well, no, I mean First Contact is good. Let's use First Contact.
First Contact's the only one
TNG
that's
film.
good. I gotta tell you though, I've come around on Generations. And Generations, don't get me wrong, Generations is bad, but as far as it being just like a 2-hour movie version of a Next Gen episode, it's a 2-hour movie version of a mediocre Next Gen episode.
Yeah, okay, I'll give you that. It's a 2-hour version of a subpar Next Gen.
It's exactly that.
It's a 2-hour version of the episode where Dr. Milf gets banged by the ghost. That's the level.
It's actually better. Generations is better than Sub Rosa. Okay. But yeah, it's that, and it's the only one of those movies that actually feels like a Next Gen, the part of that universe. Because First Contact is an action movie, Insurrection action movie, and Nemesis is really an action movie.
And it's a bad one.
It's a bad one too. But so Generations is really the only one that feels like a Star Trek: The Next Generation show. And the other ones are their own thing.
I mean, let's switch gears again and let's talk about what the fuck happened with Star Trek films, because you got the first one, which was awful, and that was Gene Roddenberry's fault. Like
motion picture?
Yeah,
motion picture is fine.
No, it's not.
Motion picture is fine.
I love slow, cerebral sci-fi shows.
You're a big fan of Red Letter Media, right?
Yeah.
They did a review. Review is their the shows they do when they actually like a movie.
Yeah.
They did a review on motion picture, and they go through why motion picture is a really good movie.
Yeah, but here's the thing.
And I agree with it.
But Torin, Red Letter Media are not the god emperors of movie criticism. They get shit wrong every once in a while.
Wrong every once in a while, but I agree with them before I saw that. I think motion picture is a fine movie.
I disagree with it.
It's a 70s sci-fi movie.
But it's a bad one.
No, if you watch,
I love. Don't get me wrong. I love slow cerebral sci-fi. Like one of my favorite sci-fi films is 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Yeah, exactly. It's boring as fuck.
Slow as fuck. A lot of people don't like it. You talk about Solaris, the original Solaris. I mean, there's
Silent Running.
Silent Running, yes. Yeah, there's tons of old sci-fi. It's not boring. It's slow.
I didn't
Here's the thing.
Boring derisively. I'm saying they're boring sci-fi movies, but I mean they're slow sci-fi movies.
Torrent, there are so many issues with the original series or the motion picture. They spend 10 goddamn minutes chasing an asteroid in warp because reasons.
It's timing. It's timing. It came out after Star Wars. Had motion picture came out in 76, it would have been, people would have said it was great. It would have been fun.
But I'm not talking about popular opinion. I'm talking about my opinion. Having seen it and seen it recently, I watched it about 2 years ago because I like torturing myself, apparently. It's still not good. Like, it's not like it's the worst sci-fi film ever, but it's not. I mean, it's a rehash of oh god, what episode of TOS is it? Brian's not fucking here.
Oh yeah, I know what you
with
mean.
His encyclopedia. It's a rehash of that episode.
Right.
And the premise is interesting. The premise is good, and it's got a lot of good things. I mean, they've got the good version of Klingons. They've got some decent special effects. They have some deep storylines, but listen, that movie has a pacing problem like you will not believe.
I'm not saying it's a great movie. I'm just saying it's better than people give it.
No, if that's what you're saying,
yeah.
I will totally get on the bet. It's better than people are saying, but it's still not a good movie. It's not the worst sci-fi movie ever made. It's not even the worst Star Trek movie ever made.
Oh no, God, no.
Okay, so it's still
I think that belongs to Nemesis.
Good. No, yeah, it's definitely Nemesis.
Or 5. I'm not sure. That's
5 is bad, but you know, I'm reading the plot synopsis of 5, and I'm thinking that's got some good ideas.
Oh, there's plenty of good ideas. They're all horribly executed.
Yeah, exactly. 5, the issue is the execution.
Right.
And same thing with the motion picture. The issue is the execution. It's not that good of a film, but it's not that bad.
But going on what happened to Star Trek movies, I think.
Yeah, well, what happened? Because you've got Fuller comes in with Wrath of Khan, which is the best. Not
Meyer.
Fuller.
Nicholas
Meyer.
Mm-hmm.
He comes in with Wrath of Khan, which is the best Star Trek film, hands down.
Right.
Which is why Into Darkness basically had to do it again.
It didn't, but I mean,
it didn't have to, but
right, and they did it, and it's one of those things where it's like, if you're gonna follow what's arguably the greatest Star Trek movie of all time, you know, you got to do a little bit better than Into Darkness.
Well, you have to do a little bit better than Into Darkness, and also let's cast a Sikh playing a Sikh.
Well, you go find one. Okay.
Well,
no. Let me correct. Go find one that's marketable in America. Let's put it that way. That's
I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying I know why they did that.
No, I get it too. But go ahead.
But I mean, you've got Star Trek, Wrath of Khan. Then you've got Star Trek 3, which I actually go against the consensus on this because I like Star Trek 3: The Search for Spock better than I like The Search for Whales, Star Trek 4.
It's a better movie. Well, okay, it's a better movie than Voyage Home. Voyage Home is a more fun movie.
Yeah, and everybody seems to like Voyage Home. I don't like it. I like The Search for Spock. Leonard Nimoy is a fantastic director.
Voyage Home is I'm a little bit biased because that was actually the very first Star Trek movie.
So that was the first Star Trek movie that I watched too, and I'm surprised I stuck with the series because even then I didn't really like it that much. But my dad showed me some good ones, and you know, I do not like The Voyage Home. I do not like The Undiscovered Country.
Really?
I mean, not The Undiscovered Country. Sorry, 5.
Oh, of course.
I love The Undiscovered Country.
Okay, yeah.
The Undiscovered. I mean, my ranking, it definitely goes 2 and then 6 and then 3 and then I guess the rest of them.
Right. Okay.
In any order in particular.
Sure.
But you know, here's the thing. Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan is, in tone and in story beats, it is very dissimilar to Star Trek, the TV show. I mean, if you want to get a film that's most similar to the original TV show, it's the motion picture. Let's be honest.
It's motion picture, but Star Trek, the original series. So I've been watching some original series lately.
Yeah.
And original series is so corny and campy.
It is corny.
And you know what it is? Because I watch a lot of Westerns with my grandfather, like those old Western TV shows. Like,
it's Wagon Train in Space. That's
it's exactly a Western.
That's how Roddenberry pitched it to Desi
Well, you also have
Liu
to think about the time that show came on. Those shows were popular. So you had things like Gunsmoke and Wagon Train. That was basically the premium television of that era.
Exactly.
So Star Trek is just that, only in space. It's
Exactly.
show.
And I mean, I've rewatched all 3 seasons. I've been forced to watch the horrible Blu-ray re-edits, which I do not
Oh,
like.
where they put in all the terrible CGI?
Well, it's not particularly bad
It's
CGI. It's just that
it's unnecessary. Like the original special effects were fine because that's all they showed.
Because it's that 60s nostalgia. That's why I'm watching it.
It's fine. Yeah, I don't need like some shitty special effects from 2008 or whenever they did it. It was like around that time, right?
Yeah, I mean, and it's, you know, they're even like the spaceship shots and the planet shots I can kind of forgive, but they're even updating the fucking phasers.
Oh,
and I'm
God.
like,
why?
Guys,
You just leave it alone. It is what it is.
Leave it alone.
Yeah.
It is the same thing with fucking colorizing old films.
Yeah,
I don't know why
just don't do that.
they have to do
well,
that.
was Turner was into that for a while, but
Turner was into that, but they've stopped.
They've
gone
stopped.
around.
Just leave it alone. It's fine.
But the Star Trek films have never been pure Star Trek. If you want to talk about pure Star Trek is the original series.
Well,
then
then
shows.
It was redefined in Next Gen. That's pure Star Trek now.
Yeah, Next Gen was an 80s sensibility on the style of storytelling that they were doing in the original series, because they were still doing the same kind of cerebral shows. The films were never going to be able to do that. They were never going to be able to survive if they did that. And so what they did with Wrath of Khan is they basically, instead of Wagon Train in space, they made it Horatio Hornblower in space. It's a naval allegory, and it's fun, it's exciting, and they're still able to keep that Star Trek mindset and that Star Trek ethos. It's dumbed down. And it's the same thing that the Abrams verse did. They just made it more actiony, and I think that there's a line
for a 2009 audience.
Exactly,
you can't do Wrath of Khan, 82 Wrath of Khan in 2009. That's just,
I disagree with that.
People aren't gonna see that.
I disagree with that.
I don't know, dude.
But maybe you're right. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I just, even the bad original series films were better than most of the Next Gen films. Most of the Next Gen films, they went full action film.
Yeah. Well, there's only 4 of them. We both agree that First Contact is okay. I don't think it's good, but I think it's okay.
I think it's good, but it's not great. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
but here's the thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because when you talk about Wrath of Khan, they still have the Star Trek soul in Wrath of Khan. You know, they've got the Federation ideals and all of that stuff. It's more actiony, but they still got that. Same thing with the Search for Spock, the Voyage Home, all of those. Generations, they kind of have that Next Gen feel, but they pump some action into it. First Contact, they really don't have any of the Star Trek soul in there. Like, I think was the
only one that's why I kind of came around Generations. Generations is the only one that really has a Star Trek soul. And Generations could have just been the series finale. It
really could have been.
It didn't have to. They didn't have to be a real movie. It could have just been a 2-hour TV movie on television.
Yeah, but you got to keep in mind too that it was a completely different writing team for all of the films. The only thing that was original was the cast.
It's Ronald D. Moore and Brandon Braga. They did Generations.
Oh, they did Generations?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't.
That's why it feels like. That's why it's the one that feels like Star Trek.
I guess.
Actually, no. I take that back. Brandon Braga and Ronald D. Moore also did First Contact.
Okay.
And
then they must have left at Insurrection.
Yeah. Insurrection is Rick Berman and Michael Piller.
Yeah, well, so that's the other thing, too, is you started getting people who weren't Star Trek fans and who weren't part of the series directing these films. And that's also the problem with the Bad Robot Star Trek films, because, and we're going to have to wrap it up pretty soon.
Okay.
Star Trek 2009 was made by a team that weren't generally Star Trek fans. They were Star Wars fans. And it shows. And I'm not saying 2009 is a bad film. It's a great film. It's just, it doesn't have the Star Trek soul. It has the Star Wars soul with the Star Trek veneer.
Sure, but what we're saying is that the Star Trek soul isn't marketable in 2009.
It's really not. And I think that's probably part of the reason why Discovery is having issues, because, like it or not, they do try to put the Star Trek soul in there while still injecting some action.
It's just they don't know what to do. It's because the Star Trek soul is in the Orville. Like, that actually has the Star Trek soul, and that's doing very well. So I, they're confused at on how to actually do Discovery proper. And then you hear about all the internal fighting they had with Brian Fuller, and he wasn't fully committed. He left after the first 2 episodes.
Well, they've gone through so many production team changes, and that's why I am really worried about the Picard show. I want it to
who's
be
in
good,
charge?
but...
Well, who's in charge of Picard show?
Oh gosh, what's his name? The big guy from Brad Robot is in charge. Kurtzman. Kurtzman is in charge of all of it now. He's running all of the Star Trek shows, or not running, but he's executive producing.
Right.
So he's the head man for Discovery going forward. He's the head man for the Georgiou Section 31 show.
I think the Picard show is going to be a little bit better because I like. What's her name? Michael Berman, Sonequa
Martin Green.
I like her as an actress, and I like the people on the show. I just don't care about their characters. And the problem with that is that first season wraps everything up nicely.
It does, because it should have been a serial show.
We're done with these characters. We're completely done with these characters. I don't care what happens next with these characters. And now we're doing that thing that shows when they last a little bit too long. When they go into like that 4th and 5th and 6th season that they don't need. We're doing that now, the 2nd season, because I don't give a shit about these characters. And that goes to like the episode we were going to shit on that we don't have time to shit on now, where they bring back Dr. Boyfriend. And it's like, I don't care about Stamets and Dr. Boyfriend. Like Stamets had his arc. He finished his arc. He's done. Now we're gonna redo that by bringing back. Now that completely invalidates his arc from the first season when you bring back, his boyfriend.
Well, also in the first season, or in the first episode of the season, Stamets is like, "Yeah, I'm done. I'm retiring," and that's the only fucking reference to that. I'm like,
and he should have gone.
Where is your arc? No,
he should have left the show.
He's like, "Oh, Tilly, you caught an asteroid. I guess I'll stay because." Fucking reasons.
Okay, when I mentioned this on the show that we did last time, I thought they were going to kill him off then because his arc is completely done. It's time for him to either retire, go back to Starfleet, or die. One of those.
Well, because they still need to use the spore drive for plot reasons.
Right, but I thought they need to figure that. They have to figure that out, obviously, because you can't have him hook up into the spore drive every time they need to use it.
Well, and also they have to get rid of the spore drive by the end of the show because it doesn't fucking exist anymore.
Right, exactly. Otherwise, Voyager would never have happened.
Yeah, it's just.
So we have all. That's the problem. What you have when you have a prequel show. That's why this show should be set at least 100 years after Next Gen.
But fucking 50 years. That's
whatever. In fact, that's good. Then you can that good. Because that really kind of skirts difference. That way you can have your cameos from whoever, like Worf can show up or whatever, or you can have ancient Picard show up or something. This dumb. They could have like fucking Geordi get stuck in a transporter like they did with Scotty back in the day. They could have something dumb like that. I don't know.
Yeah, and see, so that's why I'm holding out hope, but I'm getting worried, but I'm still holding out hope.
The Picard show will be better.
Show ought to be good.
Okay, it'll be better because we actually care. We're so invested in Picard and whatever other characters we have, and we had an unsatisfying conclusion to his story. To all those people, like Nemesis is a terrible conclusion to Next Gen.
It's so bad.
So that's why the Picard show, even though it's going to be a lot like Discovery, and even though it's going to be kind of dumb, I'm sure it's going to be dumb. It's going to be better because we're finally going to get some kind of conclusion to all those characters that we cared about, 20 years ago.
Have you read the comic book tie-in that they did that bridges the gap between Nemesis and the 2009?
No, but I'm aware of it, and they should have. I heard it's good, right?
So it's pretty good. They just explain away Commander Data basically takes over Beta 4's brain.
Sure.
So Data can come back. And I mean, not LeVar Burton, but
Geordi.
No, not Geordi. The actor who plays Data. I'm blanking on his name.
Oh, Brent Spiner.
Yeah, Brent Spiner. He was just done playing Data. And so they had to kill him off. And I was actually okay with the way they killed Data off, but they had to leave in that back door of Brent Spiner might change his mind.
They learned the first time around to leave in the back door.
Yeah,
when Spock was dead, they had to add in that extra scene. For Star Trek 3.
In post, yeah.
Because Leonard Nimoy was like, maybe I should come back to this.
Yeah, exactly. Well, because Leonard Nimoy did the same thing. He was like, I'm done. And that was actually how they got him to sign up for a second film, was they're like, listen, we're going to kill you, and it's going to be awesome. And he was like, all right, let's do it. And then he changed his mind because he's like, oh, Star Trek can be good again.
Some of these guys have to think about what the fuck am I doing? Like, what is Brent Spiner doing in 2002 that he needs to leave Star Trek for? Nothing. So,
Well, yeah, but I mean,
you know,
listen. These actors got paid. None of these guys need to work ever again. None of them.
I'm pretty sure Michael Dorn needs to work again.
Michael Dorn did fucking 2 shows and how many movies?
Michael Dorn and Marina Sirtis keep showing up to these conventions and doing autographs. Okay, they need to work again.
I think he just likes it.
I don't think anybody likes doing autographs at $20.
No, Michael Dorn. Listen. You don't sit for 4.5 hours every single day at work if you don't like it. Michael Dorn had, and let's be honest, I would have loved to play Worf. Worf is a legitimately interesting character.
Sure.
I love his character. Michael Dorn he has to have loved it, and I don't blame him. He did every fucking, if they could have found a way for him to be in Voyager, he would have said yes.
Of course he would have.
At the end of DS9, he was probably calling up the writers of Voyager, and he's like, hey, I got an idea. Worf is on a mission, and he gets blasted into a wormhole, and he's on the Voyager. And this could be like a 9-season arc, you guys. Come on, I'm ready for it.
I mean, they found a way to put
good.
Riker on there by having Q transport him to Voyager in that one episode. And then they found a way to have Riker and Marina Sirtis in Enterprise. So in that terrible series finale, get ready for that. By the way,
have you read? But I'm not watching Enterprise. I'm not even watching Voyager. You gotta finish it. No, I'm not. I saw it the first time. Like, here's the thing. The only reason why I started watching Voyager, and this is going to be the last thing, and then I have to.
Yeah, we gotta wrap it up. Good.
The reason why I started watching Voyager because I stopped watching after like season 3 or season 4. And you guys were like, no, guys, Chris, it's really, really good.
You mean really DS9? Good. You said Voyager. Yeah,
DS9, yeah. Okay, well, so what happened? So here's what happened. It was really Voyager's fault because Voyager came in while in the middle of season 2 of DS9, and so I'm watching Voyager and DS9 season 2, or season 1 and season 2 and season 3 and season 4.
Right, you're getting burned out on Star Trek.
I got burned out on Star Trek mainly because of how shitty Voyager was, right? And that made me stop watching DS9. Rewatching it now, I agree with you guys. It is good. I wish I had stuck with it. I don't care about the Prophets, but the Cardassius storylines,
sure.
The Ferengi storylines.
Well, it's not just that. It's that it's the only Star Trek, because I always maintain that Star Trek has 3 characters you kind of care about, and then just a bunch of filler like nobodies. DS9 is the only one that you care about every character. Every character has a backstory. Every character has a thing. Every character has agency. Every character on that show is great. They're well-written, 3-dimensional characters, and it's the only Star Trek, even including the original series. It's the only Star Trek that's like that.
Here's the thing. I hate the Ferengi. I think that the Federation should commit a genocide against those dirty, sleazy Ferengi.
It's so racist.
But I love Quark. Listen.
Well, Quark is great. Quark is great.
Torn, in my defense, you can't be racist against a race that doesn't exist. That's why they should turn Ferenginar into a parking lot.
I think Ferengi was an outdated reference to a certain people, but that's okay. I'm gonna keep my suspicion. I'll keep my suspicions to myself.
I don't know that. Jokes aside. I don't know that because at least from the DS9 perspective, they were basically making I think it was Ron Moore who said that the Ferengi are like the hyper equivalent version of 20th century humans.
Sure. When they changed it in '93 for DS9, when you watch that
with DS9,
when you watch that first season of Next Gen, you know exactly what they're trying to say with the Ferengi. That's all I'm going to say. Remember, and keep in mind, this is the same season that has Code of Honor, where you have the Black Panther planet. Okay.
Yeah.
So you have. I know exactly what they were trying to say with the Ferengi.
Listen, the first 2 seasons of TNG were not good.
They're
honest.
bad. They're bad. Wrapping up though, DS9 is great. You should definitely finish it out. Even season 7, the final season's really good, and that's hard to say with those with Star Trek shows. You need to watch Voyager at least just to get the full. To be balanced. No. You have to be balanced. I'll let you skip Enterprise because Enterprise is genuinely terrible.
Yeah, Brian loves Enterprise.
Brian loves Enterprise after season 3 or something when they start getting into all the Section 31 or whatever that thing is. When they get into all that, but I don't give a fuck about that.
Yeah, I can't. All right, Let's close out the show. For TPK, this is Chris signing off.
This is Torin saying, live long and prosper. We're going to do it that way. We're just going to go straight up Star Trek right now. Bye.
Bye. Okay. Do you have the upload link, or do you need me to email it to you?
If you can email, that'd
Here,
be great.
I'll email it. Hold on.
Okay, I'm gonna export it right now.
All right. Cool. Let me stop.
I thought you.